So this, of course, is the big story that we are tracking on Race to Power. The political landscape in South Korea has escalated dramatically to a standoff between the police and the presidential staff. This after the authorities arrived at President Yoon Suk-yeol's residence to conduct a raid. Now, Yoon has been at the epicenter of a political turmoil after a failed order that was to pass martial law in the country, which he then quickly withdrew. Now, earlier in the day, South Korea's police personnel tried to conduct a search operation at Yoon's residence. However, they were simply unable to enter the main building. Now, local reports in fact revealed that the police and also the Secret Service security detail for the president were unable to reach common ground on protocol and processes of the search. Now, following these developments, South Korea's opposition party has slammed the president's office, accusing the staff of insurrection for allegedly blocking the police from conducting a raid.
Obstructing the raid on the presidential office clearly constitutes participation in insurrection. The president's office and security forces have been in a confrontation for more than 3 hours, fending off police officers who have been raiding the building.
Now, President Yoon is already banned from foreign travel. He's also facing a second impeachment vote tabled by the opposition. Now, voting on the motion will take place on Saturday. In the midst of the simmering tension, South Korea's former defense minister Kim Yong-hyun allegedly attempted suicide while in custody right before his formal arrest. Now, he is accused of being involved in the failed martial law attempt last week. Now, Hyun has resigned from his position a day after the debacle. Documents from the opposition members and information from a senior military official indicate that Kim had proposed this measure to President Yoon Suk-yeol. Now, South Koreans are divided over the political events that have transpired in the last few days. Thousands are in fact out on the streets of Seoul. They're demanding for action against Yoon. And the protesters have said that the demonstrations will continue until the president is impeached. Now, on the other hand, many of the president's supporters have left flowers and messages at the presidential office after the police's raid. And to help make sense of what is happening at this moment in South Korean politics, we're joined by Ms. So-young Oh, who's a senior journalist at the Arirang Television. She's joining us on this broadcast from Seoul. Ms. Oh, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Let me in fact start by asking you this. These are some pretty dramatic and baffling scenes that are now taking place in South Korea. This is something that people did not imagine, considering as to how stable South Korea had been. But the fact that the police tried to raid the president's office and his residence, and also the fact that the president at this moment is likely to be investigated for an insurrection, which is a crime that cannot be covered under presidential pardon, and it could also result in a death penalty. What's happening in South Korean politics?
Right. Well, to begin with the raid, the attempted raid on Yoon's office, which investigators, around 18 investigators arrived. They arrived at the presidential compound around noon noon in the day. I was there the whole day, and well, basically they weren't able to gain access. I asked about the reason why, and well, there are some legal complications as to whether the Presidential Security Service could allow them to come in basically on national security grounds. So the police and the Presidential Service, they were negotiating the whole day to avoid any kind of legal contradictions. So around 7 to 8 p.m., I believe the police were given a voluntary submission of relevant documents. So that's how the situation was resolved on Wednesday. But yes, you're right in that the investigation is closing in on President Yoon Suk-yeol himself. And the president's official residence now, it isn't subject to a warrant execution at this time, but as the investigation, as the pressure continues to build on President Yoon, it seems that the presidential office is gearing up for a legal battle. Apparently, President Yoon is seeking to form a legal defense team to prepare for various scenarios, various investigations that might come upon him, as well as, of course, a potential impeachment proceeding starting against him. According to legal and political sources in Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol's office has been reaching out to legal professionals, which includes some of his former legal secretaries. And well, since there's limited time getting to your point about the execution. Now, that's very unlikely. South Korea hasn't carried out any executions since 1997, I believe. And former President Park Geun-hye, who was impeached 8 years ago, she received a prison term of 30 years and around 827 million US dollars. Definitely no execution. That would be going against South Korea's human rights kind of principles at this point.
Right, and also talk to us a bit about the now former defense minister who reportedly attempted suicide when he was taken into custody. What is he being implicated in this case? Because according to reports, he's the one who perhaps suggested to the president that he should impose the martial law.
That's right. Former Defense Minister Kim Yong-yeon, he was found by guards as he attempted suicide inside a detention center in eastern Seoul. That's where he's being held after his arrest yesterday on insurrection charges. The Justice Ministry's Chief of Correction Services, who revealed this information to the Parliament's Justice Committee, said that Kim's life is not currently in danger. Now, the former defense chief was arrested on Wednesday, a day after the Seoul Central District Court issued an arrest warrant for him for engaging in key activities while the martial law order was briefly in place last week. And he was the first figure to be detained as the Defense Ministry admitted to the martial law being his idea. And inevitably, the weight of the judgment will have to be rather great.
Indeed, we'll of course have to see as to how this case unfolds. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Soo-young, for joining us and getting us all those details there.
You're very welcome.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.